For a review of what's making the headlines this morning, we have already set Dr. Constance Ikoku. Good morning, Doctor.
Good
looking
morning.
lemony. Reminds me of the Limca days.
I am looking lemony. Do you
I
like
was
it?
not expecting that.
And you are looking, what are you looking? Blacky. And Yolanda, good morning.
Good morning, Dr. Constance.
I hope you guys had a good weekend.
Yeah,
Yes.
sure, we did.
Yeah. I managed to.
Wow.
I want
dear.
to see two plays
Oh, wow, that's lovely. In Abuja.
in Abuja.
Wow.
Nigerians are doing fantastic things. And I was so impressed. Very brilliant, setup, the choreography, the music, the dance, the storyline, the context,
I
everything.
think that set the tone for a lovely December.
I was about to say, Abuja
Yeah.
is preparing for its own version of Dirty December, so maybe this is what we should be expecting and more.
Yeah, really impressed with ordinary Nigerians doing great things on their own.
Excellent.
All right, let's look at those stories that are shaping the agenda for you this morning. Let's kick off with this day newspaper. Today, insecurity, and recovery stories dominate the headlines. From France-assisted counter-terrorism promise to school kidnapping releases and security service reforms, the national press remains deeply focused on violence, instability, and efforts to combat them. Elections and internal political dynamics are also heating up. As 2026 approaches, we have all those intra-party clashes, disqualifications, and disputes over appointments. All this suggests rising political tension. There's a complex interplay between governance failures and public reaction. Many stories don't just report the events, they interrogate the causes, banditry networks, deep-rooted political patronage, institutional neglect, reflecting a critical landscape where the media is really questioning what is going on. So this day leads with APC governors who have proclaimed their faith in President Tinubu's security plan, as well as his recent decisions. In Osun State, Omishore and other disqualified governorship primary candidates are spoiling for a fight, blaming former Governor Yotala for their fate. On the window, OPEC oil output slips in November as Nigeria's production declines. Leadership reports that 100 school children kidnapped in Niger State have been freed. Along those lines of insecurity, former President Obasanjo reiterates a carrot and stick approach to ending insurgency. Also, President Tinubu has reportedly asked France for increased assistance to tackle escalating violence. In response, President Emmanuel Macron said France will intensify counterterrorism support to Nigeria. Daily Independent has gone with the failed coup in Republic of Benin, which it claims was foiled by President Bola Tinubu. A dozen soldiers have been arrested over that incident as Nigeria AU condemned the plot. On the economic front, Nigeria may be propelled to $1 trillion economy following a possible listing of Dangote Refinery and NNPCL in the Nigerian Stock Exchange next year. Vanguard newspaper highlights PDP crisis as Wike faction moves to organize their own fresh congresses and convention, as well as reorganizing state chapters of the party. The non-governmental organization Socio-Economic Rights and Accountability Project (SERAP) has asked the independent National Electoral Commission to explain alleged missing 55.9 billion naira voted for the 2023 election materials. Daily Trust turns attention to U.S. lawmakers visiting Nigeria on a fact-finding mission in regard to that Christian genocide allegation and designation of Nigeria as a country of particular concern. It further writes about the rise of airfares by over 300% in 2 years.
Oof.
In New Telegraph, police and a vigilante group arrested suspected bandits at a hotel in Edo. Labour Party tells Tinubu to focus on security and welfare of Nigerians instead of 2027 election politics. An unsettling story coming out of Kano State, where former Governor Ganduje's independent Hisbah begins recruitment of 12,000 personnel. These were men reportedly fired by Governor Abba Yusuf. The ruling party in the state, NNPP, says this will create tension. On to Osun State again, we've seen that story earlier, where APC is in total disarray. Disqualified candidates in the primary election for governorship are asking President Tinubu to intervene. The Punch points out that Nigeria's debt to the World Bank has hit $9.55 billion, while Daily Inquirer says VIO is heading to the Supreme Court after Court of Appeal road ban. So overall in Nigeria today, economic concerns persist alongside security and politics. Fiscal reforms and government assurances signal attempts to address economic stress, which often interacts with insecurity and political instability. Let's see the international newspapers. We begin with the Times newspaper. The Employment Rights Bill continues to make headlines in the UK papers today, where it says it will require employers to inform staff of their right to join a union. The front page of Daily Mail spotlights care for dementia patients. A poll suggests only 1 in 4 people are confident they'd receive good NHS care if diagnosed. Similarly, The Guardian draws attention to problems in GP to hospital referrals. Many are reportedly lost, rejected, or delayed. The front page of the Financial Times leads with news that the Federal Reserve in the U.S. is widely expected to cut interest rates this week. This comes amid concerns about the labor market and pressures on households. The Independent reports that after the fall of Assad, a stalled justice system threatens a restless Syria. In metro.co.uk, a pepper spray attack on passengers at Heathrow Airport left 21 people injured. The police is on the hunt for the attacker. Daily Telegraph writes about inheritance tax raid, which they say will hurt family farms. Globally, the scale of the devastation in Sri Lanka shows how climate-related extreme weather continues to cause major humanitarian crisis. And the latest round of U.S.-led peace negotiations with Ukraine have been described by Ukrainian President Zelensky as constructive but not easy. Now, let's break down what the stories mean for everyday people. Returning to this day newspaper, let's try to merge a couple of stories there. The lead story, The Confidence, reposed on President Bola Tinubu by the APC governors in the security crisis in the country. The rescue of 100 school children, that's in Leadership, Vanguard, and Abuja Inquirer. And of course, France promising to support Nigeria's counterterrorism effort. Benga, if you want to start.
Okay, France has shown increasing interest in Nigeria lately, and we saw when President Tinubu appointed, reeled out the list of ambassadors. I was surprised that France was one of the top 3, showing France increasing strategic interest in Nigeria. It has said that there will be no spectator in this issue, and it had called for increasing partnership. But the undertone, it underscores the role of Nigeria as a beautiful bride in international engagement, mainly because of the West increasing energy demand. Nigeria is the market, and the population of Nigeria further confirms Nigeria as the market. Just yesterday, some hours ago, we saw the U.S. delegation coming to visit the National Security Advisor just 2 weeks, 2 weeks before after the Nigerian delegation had visited. And so we see France coming in at a very crucial period. But my worry is that France's failure to stabilize the Gulf of Guinea and a lot of regional instability across the Sahel region, and many of the states within this region are French allies or former French allies. So I wonder what France is bringing to the table in view of this security and political dynamics that is happening in sub-Saharan Africa.
Very excellent points that you've put out there, Benga, because I was going to say a similar thing and actually agree with you. We've always known that President Tinubu and President Macron have always shared unique type of relationship. We've seen that they're pretty close over time, and reports that we have taken throughout the year, but it cannot be denied that France has slowly been losing its hold in Africa. You mentioned Guinea. The example I was going to use was that of Burkina Faso, as France was kicked out of the country in 2023 because of their failure to actually show up and provide protection, security for these insurgents. And now Nigeria has the exact same problem. How is France now going to come in and fix a problem that they failed to fix in other countries? And it's all eyes on Nigeria now, so we wait and see what they have to offer Nigeria at this time.
And you
so
know, okay.
to the school children that were freed from Niger State,
yes,
over 100 school children, and 315 were abducted. 50 escaped 24 hours after kidnapping, leaving 265 in captivity. There were also some staff members that were kidnapped as well. Reports say several buses with inscription of the Office of the National Security Advisor were seen heading to Borgu local government area. So that is the bus that conveyed the children that were released. A bishop of the Catholic Diocese of Kantagora was quoted here as saying that they've not been officially notified of this latest development, but the sense is that, you know, eventually with time they will be informed, and the parents will be informed as well that their kids have been rescued. We remember that the NSA did visit Niger State last week, where he met with the government and the Catholic bishop, and he assured them that the government is working very hard to make sure that these kids are released. And I think for the families, this is a huge relief when they eventually have their kids, you know, back home with them. But this success also reminds us of the fragile nature of schooling now in most northern states. You know, most schools are vulnerable to attacks. So while we are rescuing our students from, you know, the den of kidnappers, we also have to begin, you know, now to think long term of how not only the rescue efforts, which are usually reactive, but in the long term, how do we begin to secure the schools so that this kind of thing doesn't happen again? So there are several security measures that have to be taken into consideration.
So we need to revisit that Safe School initiative. $10 million was budgeted, and we've not seen that strong political will to drive that initiative that has a comprehensive outline of how to protect the schools. It's very sad indeed that up till now we've not been able to name that officer that ordered for the withdrawal of security operatives from around that area, just few hours to the abduction of the school children in Kebbi, and also the community security group initiative that was part of the Safe School initiative, and also the perimeter fencing. None of this has been done in many of the schools. So we call for accountability, we call for stewardship, we call for responsibility on this initiative.
Indeed, and one of the things we had spoken about last week and the weeks before that were the concerns about having these schools closed. I think Dr. Constance brought this point up very pertinently about how schools were being closed and why. And yes, it does give a sigh of relief now that some of the children have been reunited with their families, but we need more details to restore confidence in the people. We still don't have details about if there were any arrests that were made during the time, if anyone, you know, this release. And
with the release of these 100 school children, there should be more intelligence as to the whereabouts of the abductors and the abductees.
Let's look at this there again, that story on Osun State. Omisore and other disqualified governorship primary candidates, you know, they're not taking it lightly at all. They're blaming former Governor Yotola for what is going on in the party. Well, so there's that demarcation, right, between the federal power and the state power. This is exactly what is playing out in Osun State, where Yotola, who is the minister now of marine and blue economy, used to be a governor of Osun State. So he failed to secure a second term. He was rewarded with a ministerial position. Now he is fighting to have control of the governorship structure of APC in the state, because it is reported that he is supporting a particular candidate against the other candidates. And when you do not have a free and fair process in the primary, that completely destroys the party, and that's what we're going to see in Osun State, you know.
Yeah, Governor Adeleke is playing his game strategically, and he has announced that he would unfold his plans on the next move in terms of the next political party he'll be joining by December 13. That's towards the end of this week.
So, about
no, I know. Yeah. So he could, how the opposition party could throw some spanners in the other party to create disarray. So if care is not taken, and that is the point I'm driving at, that if care is not taken, we have two political heavyweights in the APC, and the other party, the other one could just help to be a spoiler if care is not taken. So there is a need for Osun State APC to adhere strictly to the tenet of internal democracy. Otherwise, what seems to be tilting in its advantage in the last couple of days might pander to the interest of the current incumbent governor of Senator Demola Leke. And if you get to Osun State, you will know that he's well loved. I think the only person that ranks on that equal pedestal is the former governor of Osun State, and that's Rauf Aragbeshola. So now it's going to be a heated contest in Osun State, and they need to put all political machineries in order for each party to put itself in a very at a political advantage.
Well, the table is already broken. I don't see how they. I don't see when you're talking about they be careful. It's already broken. I don't. Well, see how
the president could quickly interfere. And,
well, let's see.
We know the relationship between the minister of
and the
Blue Economy and the president, and I'm sure he would not want to jeopardize Osun State, because that would have a long calculation and a longer effect on its presidential ambition come 2027.
Let's move to Vanguard newspaper. PDP crisis deepens as Wike faction moves to organize. Actually, no, before that, let's see Daily Trust. Daily Trust, U.S. congressional delegation on fact-finding mission in Nigeria. The team met with NSA, and they included U.S. representatives Mario Diaz-Balart, Norma Torres, Scott Franklin, Juan Ciscomani, and Riley Moore. U.S. Ambassador Richard Mills was also in attendance. A group, including U.S. Assistant Secretary of State, U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria, among others, were also in Benue State, where they visited the state government and the traditional ruler authorities. So discussions centered around ongoing insecurity as well as the humanitarian challenges. Yolanda, this is, we know that a country of particular concern that Nigeria has been designated with normally brings diplomatic pressure. And that's what we're seeing here. And the delegation is here to find things out for themselves. And so this amplifies that pressure that we know already was ongoing. The visit does show that Washington, D.C. is very serious with this CPC designation and intends to gather that first-hand information that they are here for. The visit could go two ways. Either it goes really well or it goes very badly. If it does go badly, it could suggest that there's an escalation of, some policies against Nigeria, which includes sanctions, and other things. But also, while they're here, after this, what will happen is that there will be expectations from Nigeria to do a couple of things. They will have to address religious freedom and violations, which is part of the allegations. They will have to improve security, accountability, protect minority communities, and reform the justice processes linked to rights abuses, because these are all the allegations against Nigeria. And so, in spite of the fact that this has created some sort of tension in Nigeria, it gives Nigeria a diplomatic pathway and an opportunity to try to right the wrongs and make sure that Nigeria is removed from that list of the CPC. So it can, during this trip, present its own data, negotiate roadmaps to make sure it's removed from that CPC, list and rebuild trust with the Nigerian Congress and U.S. agencies, and a couple of other things. So we will be watching to see how this goes.
Yes, I think you've basically said it all. And generally speaking, I think there's a very big sigh of relief amongst people. I think people are starting to feel like, okay, the wheels are spinning, things are being done. As Benga rightly mentioned earlier on, that the Nigeria delegation arrived back from the US about 2 weeks ago. If you remember, part of what was said was that they were going to create a non-binding framework. So that's probably something that's going to be on the agenda. Well, so we hope and assume, if we look at what was said the last time. So they've been holding a lot of meetings so far. It's very good and impressive to see that they've been speaking to some people such as the Tortiv. You know, he would, the supreme traditional ruler in Benue State. So that's a very positive thing to see, that they're not just speaking to the high levels, but also, absolutely. So they're bringing it across board, and hopefully this will yield some positive results that don't lean only in one direction, that is fair and that is, you know, gives everybody a chance to air their views diplomatically.
You know, we saw that that report with Arise, with our station, where they were visiting the National Security Advisor. It seemed really cordial.
Yes.
So you can see already that everything is in motion. In fact, the thing is that for Nigeria, the political cost of inaction is too much.
That's right.
The stakes are high, so we
right.
have to act, because I'm sure that Nigeria and the president wants to be removed from this CPC status. So they are probably going, we can see they are moving towards that. We have to make maybe a very quick comment on the PDP crisis. If we can pull up the Vanguard newspaper, the crisis has deepened as Wike's faction moves to organize fresh congresses and conventions, as well as trying to reorganize the state chapters of the party. The factional chairman, Mao Ohabunwa, disclosed all these plans. So, I mean, Wike's faction argues that earlier congresses and conventions are null and void. So, by insisting on freshly conducted ones, you know, what they are saying is that, you know, they do not recognize the current leadership of the party. I mean, this just risks fracturing the party further along those lines. And I wonder what the Tanimu Turaki faction, well, he's the national chairman, I don't know whether to use the faction, I wonder what he's thinking. And also with that decampment of
the Osun State governor.
No, not even Osun State. In River State, the state assembly members have decamped from PDP to APC. You know, so there's just too much going on in the PDP. So one wonders whether Tanimu Turaki leadership will be able to turn things around. They are going to court, they say, to ensure that those PDP members in River State lose their seats on grounds that they cannot continue to be representing to be in the state assembly when they got into the party on the platform of the PDP. Let's see international headlines this morning. Foiled coup in Republic of Benin, Yolanda.
So I think many people viewed that video that we have right now on screen, where a group of soldiers appeared on live television early Sunday declaring that they had suspended the constitution. They announced that they had taken over due to failures by the president, who is Patrice Talon. Now in the evening, we saw Patrice Talon appear on live TV and address the nation. And this was kind of a proof of life sort of situation, where he was saying that the situation is under control. He said that a small group of soldiers were attempting a coup but was blocked by loyal forces. Now, part of the report that we held earlier on spoke about how ECOWAS urgently deployed standby forces and sent troops. Now, these standby forces that were sent in were made up of soldiers from Nigeria, Ghana, Sierra Leone and Cote d'Ivoire. Now, Benin Republic has faced security challenges, especially with jihadist violence in the north of the country. This is a very similar situation to what we see going on here in Nigeria, minus the coup. And so it's a very dicey situation, but it's good to see that the situation was rescued in time and very swiftly. Now, the Nigerian Air Force also operated in the Republic of Benin in line with the ECOWAS protocols and the ECOWAS Standby Forces mandate, although it is not exactly clear what the targets of the strikes were.
Well, the thing is that when you look at that Daily Independent report,
yes,
where it says that President Tinubu foiled the coup,
yes,
what it was trying to say was that when that coup happened, the government of Benin reached out to Nigeria immediately, the president, asking for two things. First of all, they asked for
the takeover of the TV station.
No. They asked, first of all, for air forces to come into to the Benin airspace and close it down to ensure that those people do not take control. And secondly, they asked for ground forces as well. And so President Tinubu immediately responded and sent Nigerian air forces into Nigeria, air fighter jets into Benin. And then after that, they were able to dislodge the airspace, dislodge the coup plotters from the airspace. And secondly, they did send ground forces into Benin, and they are still there as we speak. So, I mean, the coup attempt there now is being framed as a West African problem.
Right.
Because
Indeed,
we've seen other incidents. We had that great report from our own reporter, Punariman Benjamin.
8 countries in the last 5 years coming under military coup attempts. Mali, Burkina Faso, Sudan, Madagascar,
Guinea-Bissau
last month. So when you look at it, we have said it time and again that democracy seems to be in crisis, especially in the West African sub-region. And we have seen the activation, which is quite impressive, of the ECOWAS Protocol on Democracy and Governance, which was signed in Dakar 2001, and which emphasizes the need for cooperation in terms of election, in terms of promotion of human rights, and also deepening democratic institutions across the region. So when you look at these developments, the Nigerian forces, the Nigerian government had responded promptly to ensure that, because we cannot afford, in addition to Niger, Burkina Faso, and Mali, we cannot afford another setback from the ECOWAS region. And Benin holds a strategic location. They are just our immediate neighbor. So anything that happens in that region would have a viral ripple effect on Nigeria.
Well, I think it's more because we have a very friendly relationship with Benin. The president is always in Nigeria. So, we have that very tight relationship, so they were able to reach out to Nigeria immediately. And, you know, finally, it just shows the, you know, institutional fragility that is going on across the region, and, you know, people want this change. All right, those were your headlines today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Constance, for driving the newspaper review today.
Indeed.